Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Fish Tank, and this week I start with a letter, which I'm not exactly sure who sent me this letter, but oh well. It says, Dear Mr. Tank, my child keeps wetting himself in bed. How can I prevent him from being distressed by this? It unsurprisingly doesn't give a name of the person who sent me this letter. But if it's one of your mum or dad, then I'm sorry to hear you do still wet the bed. But I don't know, I'm not sure you can prevent a child from being distressed by wetting his bed. Perhaps if you send them down to a shallow end every time they wet the bed, perhaps? Don't know. Anyway, if any viewers have got any problems or seek advice, then feel free to comment on jimbostudios.com. I may be able to help you out with any problems you might have. So it's time for the apology of the week, and this week I would like to apologise to Rio Ferdinand. After last week I said that his haircut combines sport and comedy. Well, I'm sorry, and I am really, I am going to apologise for this one. There's no need for that kind of behaviour, because let's face it, everyone knows that Rio Ferdinand's haircut's got absolutely nothing to do with sport. So, sorry. Anyway, what's been happening this week? Well, as I've mentioned Rio, it seems appropriate to talk about Jimbo and the horror car accident he had the other day, which wrote his car off. His car, by the way, is actually called Rio, because it's got the word Rio written somewhere on the side of it for some reason. So it must be the model of the car. It was a tragic accident basically, because Jimbo got out alive and then said that the fish tank will carry on recording for years to come. So, but Jimbo is safe and well, and I think he'd been to watch the FA Cup final, which was a rather dull occasion, to be honest. I didn't see it, but I watched the highlights and got rather bored whilst I was watching that. It was the first FA Cup final to be held at New Wembley, and also contained the first goal in an FA Cup final at the New Wembley, and also the first pass in an FA Cup final at New Wembley, the first corner to be taken in an FA Cup final at New Wembley, and onwards and upwards like that, various more things that were firsts for an FA Cup final at Wembley. But and also coming out this next week is the Pirates of the Caribbean. The new Pirates of the Caribbean film will be coming out next, I think it might be next Thursday, although I might be going to watch an advanced preview of it next Tuesday. So I might be able to go and get in on a quick chance to go and see the early previews of it. It's the third instalment of it. It's a reasonable series, the Pirates of the Caribbean series, although they've not actually got to the 17th instalment yet, so it's not that good. And although I'm not a big fan of going to the films, because I once went in and once got kicked out for eating my own food in there. Alright, fair dues, I don't actually have a barbecue on the go, but it's still, they could have just asked me nicely to put the barbecue out and carry on watching the film, but oh well. Not to worry, it's their choice. I'm not going to name and shame Warner Brothers Cinemas. Whoops, I just have done. And so there we go. Also this week I was rather ill last week due to high amounts of onions being put on my sandwiches, which often causes me to have a bit of a dodgy stomach. Does onions? It's not good for me. I'm not quite sure how the onions managed to appear on my sandwich. I didn't ask for them, but they appeared on my sandwich nonetheless. And I was sat in the doctor's waiting room, and this bloke came in, and he got 2 sausages stuck up his nose. And he got some chips in his ear, he got some brown sauce all over his face, and he got a bit of bacon stuck to his head. And he walked in and said to the doctor he wasn't feeling very well, and the doctor said to him straight away, I can tell what's wrong with you, mate, you're not eating properly. So it was rather interesting just sitting there and watching this bloke come in, because he got 2 sausages stuck up his nose. Not often you see that. Well, very, very, very often that you see that. Anyway, it's time for the Celeb-ometer. Well, perhaps Jose Mourinho might want to appear on the show this week with his dog. Because his dog is now, let's face it, fairly famous. I'm not exactly sure what the dog's called, but I think it's called Didier Drogba. I think. Apparently the only reason he actually signed the football player Didier Drogba was because he had a name very similar to his dog. Apparently, and obviously Jose Mourinho last week got arrested because his dog wasn't in quarantine or something like that. And Mourinho apparently said to the policeman, if you want to take someone who's foreign to have injections and be put in quarantine for a few months, then take Shevchenko, please. But they didn't do that. Instead, they just arrested Mourinho. I don't think they actually got the dog. So, what's the point in actually going to get the dog if they don't take him in the first place? Oh well. Not to worry, that's the police force bit. Anyway, moving on. It's time for the headline this week, which says, not fully sure where this headline comes from, to be honest, but it says, safety expert says school bus passengers should be belted. So fair enough if they're being unruly, but if they're just sat there minding their own business and just want to get to school, then I don't think they should be belted. If they're doing that annoying trick of continually pressing the bell again and again and again and again, then Perhaps they should be belted to do that, but otherwise I don't really think it's necessary. Shouldn't really beat children up. Anyway, it's also time for Quote of the Week, which this week comes from the former Sheffield United manager, Mr Neil Warnock. And he says, talking about a cup match, he said, "Matches don't come bigger than the FA Cup quarter-finals." Well, of course there's the semi-finals and FA Cup final, but I find it unlikely that Sheffield United ever get to any of those matches, so I suppose he does have something of a point. So there we go. Anyway, that brings the end of the show, basically. Not to put too fine a point on it, so I'll see you next week. And fortunately Jimbo's still alive, so I'm sure he'll see you on Jimbo Studio soon as well. So, goodbye.